Hey guys, hope everyone is staying safe. I miss you all, and I can't wait to get back to a sense of our normal. In the meantime, here is an instructional video to aid you in digital task number 3, which is on your Google Classroom, and that is an art criticism assignment. All right, so for our art criticism assignments in advanced, we use the Feldman model. You guys have probably done this, if not at least once, several times, okay? So the Feldman model has 4 basic steps. Number 1 is describe, number 2 is analyze, 3 is interpret, and 4 is judge. So I'm going to briefly recap these 4 steps. And also in the assignment on Google Classroom, there's a Google form for you to type in your actual answers to these steps. There are instructions listed there for you as well. So again, this is going to be a brief overview. All right, so step 1 is describe. On your description, the key here is to be thorough, but state the obvious, okay? Be simple at the same time. So pretend like you are describing the artwork that you're critiquing to someone over the phone. So you want to be detailed enough to where they can create a mental picture in their head, kind of as if they were reading, okay? We all, when we read, subconsciously create pictures in our minds. So we want to aid the viewer, or the person on the other end of the phone in viewing or creating a picture of what we see. All right, so you want to address things like the elements of art and how and where they're used. That's color, line, shape, texture, and so forth. You can address what's in the foreground, middle ground, and background, and you can address the simple items that are in the credit line. Who made this piece? What's the title, date of creation, etc. All right, so let's describe Edvard Munch's The Scream. Okay, let's just start with the most obvious piece, which is our subject matter or our focal point. So I could say, I see a figure in the foreground who looks to be in distress. He has his hands clasped to the side of his head and cheeks, and his mouth is open as if he is screaming. He's wearing a dark garment, and it looks as though he's standing on a dock or a pier. Walking away from him in the opposite direction are 2 figures, also on the dock and the pier, and who are also dressed in dark garments. The sky of the piece is really vibrant, warm colors created with impasto warm colors. Again, impasto is the laying on of paint or pastel or your medium in a thick manner where the brush strokes or crayon/pastel strokes are still obvious. So it hasn't been blended smoothly. Then you could go down to the foreground and say, I see some hills separating the sky and the water. And then in the middle ground, there seems to be a small lake with a couple of vessels or boats in them. And then the shore looks to be black with a few impasto pastel marks of blue. The piece overall uses tones and shades more than tints. Again, tint would be our pastel or Eastery colors. Tint is when you add white to a true hue. So that's not really the feeling that we get here, okay? No Easter here. It's more dark. So we have tones. That's when gray is added to a true color or hue. And we have shade when black is added to a true color or hue. So we've done a pretty good description there for our viewer on the other end of our phone. So let's move to step 2, analyze. Now, on analyze, you want to address what elements are used. Again, that's line, shape, form, space, color, texture, and value. And how do these elements work together to create the principles in the piece. Okay. Again, with Edvard Munch's piece, let's address some elements of art. So we've already talked about how the sky uses our warm colors. We've also touched on the fact that there are curvy or organic lines in the sky. We could say the dock or pier is at a diagonal, and we know that diagonal lines create a sense of instability or uneasiness. We could talk about the texture. The artist did not smooth out his strokes. He purposefully left them there, so that creates kind of a gestural effect. We could talk about, let's address shape. For the most part, we have organic shapes. Again, organic shapes are asymmetrical. They're not the same on both sides, and they have curvy edges. In contrast, geometric shapes are made by using tools. So they're man-made. That's our triangles, our circles, rectangles, squares, and so forth. All right. So we have organic shapes here. Lots of curvy edges, not really any symmetry. All right, let's go ahead and address principles. We could say we have emphasis. The artist has used our size and scale of this front figure, and also contrast, because he has put a light color against a dark color, or a light value against a dark value. And we notice him first because of these things. So that is our focal point. We could say the piece is balanced. The artist has balanced out this front figure with adding two figures into the foreground. So it kind of leads your eye from the front to the back and up into the sky, which we could call movement. All right. There seems to be a pattern of the colors used. There are mostly organic shapes. So again, patterns of the same colors and shapes used throughout. And that is a basic analysis. And again, this is brief. You guys will need to be a little more in depth in your written explanations. Let's go to step 3. All right, so this is your interpretation. So what does this painting mean? All right, list evidence to support your theory. You don't want to just say, I think it means XYZ, and not give me any reasoning. Do you think there's any symbolic meaning? What state of mind was the artist in, and what mood does this painting set? So for this piece in particular, I know what it means already, so I'm kind of biased here. But let's say I did not. I can remember the first time I saw this piece, so I'm going to try to plug myself there and do this interpretation. We know that this figure in the foreground seems to be in distress. So he's afraid of something, okay? We also know from our description and analysis that there are two other figures walking away from our main subject. So already right off the bat, I feel like this artist is maybe addressing isolation or loneliness within himself, okay? He is in distress, and there's no one in sight to help him. There are passerbyers, but they are walking away from him and seem to think he is invisible. All right, so no one to help. Okay, the reason I say that, again, you can't just tell me what you think it means. You need to explain why. The reason I think this is because the artist has very clearly given the subject facial structure and body movement that seems to be uneasy or in distress. Okay. We can even go into the tones and shades that are used. The artist has used lots of dark, heavy colors, and that kind of lends to mystery or dreariness or even fear, okay? He's got a lot of these warm colors in the sky that clash with the darker colors used in the middle and foreground. So that collision or that contrast could create anxiety in some viewers. Okay, and then let's address the symbolic meaning, state of mind, and mood. Okay, so I've pretty much went over all of these things. The state of the mind of the artist we can kind of correlate to the state of mind of our main subject here. He might feel lonely or isolated. The mood is overall kind of fearful, really, suspenseful, mysterious. Okay, we're trying to figure out what has put our subject in so much distress. Like, what does he see that has caused him so much fear? All right, so that is step 3, interpret. Let's move on to the final step, step 4. Do you like this work of art? Why or why not? So again, you can't tell me simply, yes, I like it, or no, I do not. You need to give me evidence and support and logic for your answer. What would you have done differently if you were the artist? All right, let's dive in here. Okay, so personally, I do like this piece. You guys know that I'm very intrigued and supportive when it comes to mental health and mental health support. I love how artwork can help and aid in our self-expression. So I really enjoy how this artist, Edvard Munch, used elements and principles of art to create this sense of isolation and loneliness. All right. I think that the tones and shades and the overall heaviness of the colors lend well to that sense of fear and suspense and loneliness. I think that the sky, had it been cool colors, some people might think the piece would be more unified that way because the colors are more similar. But I don't know if you guys have read the Yellow Wallpaper in ELA yet, but warm colors seem to draw anxiety for some folks. And I think that that's no accident. I think Edvard purposefully created such heavy contrast in this piece, like I said, in the interpretation and analysis, that lends to an uneasy feeling. So I think it's successful because he used his elements and principles appropriately. And also, and that's kind of an abstract situation, the elements and principles, he also did some very obvious maneuvering of the facial structures, which very much lends to this sense of fear. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys what this piece actually means. When Edvard was young, he was walking through a park with some friends, and they left him. I'm not sure if it was on purpose or accidentally. But he was petrified because he was alone. And again, he was young. So all of these judgments and interpretations and the analysis that we've already conducted were right on track. He was afraid. It was suspenseful because he did not know where his companions had gone. So again, the artist did a fantastic job of capturing those feelings, especially from a memory that was years before he created this piece. So I do think it's a successful piece overall. Okay, guys, if you have any further questions about this presentation or the assignment that I've provided in Google Forms, just let me know, either through email or on the Google Classroom comments, and I will get back with you as soon as possible. Good luck on this assignment. I think it will be fun. And I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say.